Hey, what's up, Canada and beyond? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, grannies and gators, friends, patriots, and anybody else that's just found us. If you're new here and you have just found us, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I hope it doesn't take you too long to hit the share button. If you aren't new here, you know what to do. Give that green thumbs up, click on Rumble, give us some love on Twitter or X. We're still on Facebook, so that's still working every day. That's a miracle to me. So I kind of take note every day. Same as YouTube. We're still allowed to stream on channel number 1473 on YouTube. Not really. I think it's only channel like number 4. But yeah, and on Wimkin, whatsupcanada.org and lgm.news. And as usual, guys, I want to remind everybody that everything we do here is free. Always. There's no paywalls. And everything that I cover on a show, all the links, if there's any documents, graphics, PDFs, files, anything that we cover on a show here, I always make sure that it's available in the Substack that goes out the next morning, which is also free. You can get everything there. There is an option if you want to support the platform. You can, when you subscribe, choose to get a paid subscription. It's about like $8 a month or something like that, and that really helps me keep the supply of craft dinner and coffee going. Anybody that knows me know that those are the two things that I absolutely cannot live without. And so yeah, that's kind of ground zero for all of the details, and the easiest way to find that is, if you can't remember all of that, whatsupcanada.org is the website. Looks like we're having another Rumble snafu tonight. Just before showtime, it's told me I was disconnected, so I had to reboot the show. So it's showing me that there's some people there, but it's not actually showing me any numbers. It's telling me I've got like one viewer, and yet I can see the show going. So no idea what to make of that. But tonight's show, guys, is going to be, again, a little bit of the thought-provoking side of things. That's what this channel is infamously known for. And as people are starting to digest what's going on in Canada here, I think it's mostly an inward look that's identifying and seeing this issue developing that kind of people didn't really see coming, maybe necessarily. We tried to pontificate this a little while back, and it's interesting how it's coming back, circling around again. But I think it's a legitimate question if we take a look at what a coup really actually is. I think that is an appropriate term to add into our vernacular, because I mean, what is, I'll make this a little bit bigger for everybody. What is a coup? That's short for coup d'etat, which by definition is a stroke of state, or simply a coup is typically an illegal or overt attempt by a military organization or other government elites to unseat an incumbent leadership. A self-coup is when a leader, having come to power through legal means, tries to stay in power through illegal means. I don't know about any y'all out there, maybe, give me a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if this kind of resonates to you guys. And if it doesn't quite click in yet, we're going to cover a few more things here, right, Chicken Louie, that are going to kind of help flesh that question out for everybody. And I think that this discussion is equally paramount to what's happening in the United States. And it seems to have been being normalized in the United States, and not to the point where it's not even noticed in here, up here in Canada. But what do I mean by that? And then we'll get into some breaking news that also slid in under the mass fixation with the Trump Kamala debate last night. I probably every channel in the digital universe is talking about that infamous debate last night. I'm going to keep my thoughts on that real short and simple. I think the powers that be within the establishment embarrassed America on an international stage, and the only people that lost were Americans. So that's kind of my take on that. I don't think it changes or moves the needle or the dial one iota. I think that that's just more of an indication to the international community how absurd the reindeer games are in America. So that's and Americans lose at the end of the day. That's who loses, because it's everyday Americans that write the paychecks on that. And when it comes to this discussion about coup, when you apply this same definition to it, I'd like to know how many votes did Kamala actually get at the DNC? Who was she campaigning against? Weren't there any other candidates? Weren't there any other potentials? And I'm seriously not understanding how this democracy process within the institution of America is supposed to work. And if the people accept this, replacement of incumbent leadership without question, I guess that's democracy, right? But that's by definition still a coup, is it not? So America has its own issue with this discussion, but America has a very different set of rules, shall we say, with some kind of built-in trips against exactly this kind of thing happening. So whether Americans wake up or clue into that, I cannot say, but I think it's absolutely a relevant conversation to be had by both nations experiencing the same things. So what am I rambling on about? So we covered the Kamala coup in the U.S. We'll get in a little deeper into the Canadian coup. Now, I'm not qualified to address beyond what most of the rest of us know here about who pulls the strings of the great Kamala coup in the United States. Inevitably, it's the same people. But what does that look like up here in Canada? While everybody's paying attention to, the coup in the U.S., being the entire world's attention span being polarized by that subject. Meanwhile, it's a great time to take a few great leaps forward for the communist, fascist, New World Order coup in Canada. And while we were all focused on that, a new senator appeared in Canada, anointed and appointed by Mr. Trudeau. What? Another one, you say? Where did anybody else get the memo? I was kind of lucky to catch this one this morning. This happened yesterday, where the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced yesterday that Governor General, Her Excellency, the Right Honourable Mary Simon, appointed Pierre Moreau as an independent senator to fill a vacancy in the Senate for Quebec. Does this have anything to do with the other party now exerting muscle in this extortion of the Liberal Party to stay in party, the Bloc Québécois? Gee, this guy is now saddled with the Bloc Québécois, or shall I say, or the people in Quebec are now saddled with Pierre Moreau, is a lawyer specializing in public and administrative law and a former member of the Quebec National Assembly with 40 years of legal and political experience. Between 2003 and 2018, he represented the ridings of Marguerite, Deville, and Chateauguay, and held a number of important positions in the Quebec cabinet. This new senator was recommended by the Independent Advisory Board for Senate appointments and chosen upon a merit-based process. Right. We know how that process works. Uh-huh. Yeah. So congratulations, Canada. Another Trudeau appointed Senate member at this point, given that, what is it, more than 75% of the Senate has been appointed by this globalist meat muppet called Lord Farquaad. I mean, Justin Trudeau. Pardon my French. Yeah, this is what's the point in changing prime ministers at all? Nothing's ever going to get. It might get through Parliament, but it'll never get through the Senate at this point, regardless of we change Trudeau out or whatever other meat muppet we put in that seat. At this point, it's a moot discussion. They might as well dissolve Parliament or dissolve elections, dissolve the entire process, because the people are going to have absolutely no representation, and the Senate will ultimately get to decide. How do they make this kind of extortion acceptable and normalized? Well, I've been really challenging some people lately. I think unions are evil, and this is just another example of that. The PSAC union wants federal workers to boycott downtown Ottawa businesses, so starve out the individuals, the middle class, the people that fed everybody while they were taking holidays and collecting COVID bucks and getting their extortion money, and now sitting at home 3 days a week, or whining because they have to go in 3 days a week to work. They want to boycott and destroy the middle class a little bit more, right? A little bit more suffering is good for everybody, right? Yeah. So one of the interesting side notes of yesterday's election was it's interesting the things that people get absolutely into the weeds on. And out of that election was election debate last night. One of the big things was what's going on in Springfield. Is it real? And interestingly, never fact checked Kamala even once, but they absolutely embarrassed themselves by attempting to fact check something Donald Trump said about these millions of people. And so a little bit of context on the story, if you haven't heard it already. A community of 40,000 people had basically 20,000 Haitians dumped in their community overnight, and now, like we have in Canada, people using our beaches as bathrooms, as toilets for dumping in. We have some cultural conflicts, and the people in Haiti that are from Haiti that are apparently landed in Springfield have a cultural acceptance of eating everybody else's pets and saying it's not happening. But yet, just like our government here is trying to tell people that no, these new invaders, I mean immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them, they're not using our beaches for bathrooms. No. Wait till they're eating your neighborhood pets too, because if you try to tell the news or the world about it, you'll get the knock treatment at your door here, just like the people that were exposing people using the beaches as bathrooms, and now pets being eaten. It's on video, even multiple cases of it. They've been talking to residents, so it's absurd, that's it's subjects like that even have to be brought up. It's the fact that something like that is something so disgraceful has been allowed to happen, to force a subject matter like that into what should be one of the most exalted stages of communication to a nation is incredibly disturbing, if you ask me, and I don't really even know how to process that. And it's the normalization of it that nothing should. It's all charade. We know what happened in 2020, and everything since then has been a charade, an insult to everybody's intelligence, and the illusion of democracy and freedom and constitutional law and all of these things. These people that have captured our governments. The charade just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And when you look underneath the layers of the swamp in these in this, and you start to figure out and connect more of the dots, and you see who pulls the strings behind people like Kamala and Joe, or who they're working for, who their sponsors are. It's the same people that sponsor these kinds of meat muppets. And it's like I talk about, it's not the controllers. We think the politicians control shit. They don't control anything. It's the people behind them that pull their strings that actually control stuff. And so back to, where do I call this a coup in Canada? This guy, Mark Carney, who's basically, well, we'll hear from him here in just a second, got exactly as many votes from the citizens of Canada as what Kamala did to be the next presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. So democracy where? This guy is a foreign plant. Not only did he just take this job because he is then bound to no political or ethics responsibilities within our establishment, but he's also working for the government of the UK, which he got hired on there about 6 months ago. So this guy is the banker's banker, the the head financier for the WEF Fourth Reich, and he's of the same ilk, where he is here to clean up the mess that the young global leaders, I mean young global kids, have been making. They've been their own worst enemies, and I'm talking about all of them combined: Jagmeet Singh, Justin Trudeau, Chrystia Freeland. The list goes on and on and on and on of these corrupted politicians that have infiltrated our government at the behest of Uncle Klaus Schwab. And we already know, because of him, that more than half of the cabinet has been penetrated. Well, even those young, enthusiastic global leaders couldn't organize a fart fest at a bean festival, and they've basically been wrecking everything. Exactly the same thing that was happening in the UK, same thing that happened in New Zealand and Australia. These young communist clone troopers out of the Klaus Schwab school of world domination have been blowing it. So they've been having to pull in these money guys, these managers, these fixers. Every mob, every crime syndicate has a fixer. Well, Mark Carney is Canada's fixer. Pierre Starmer is the UK fixer. And we have to start identifying these crime syndicate criminals for what they are. And Mark Carney is an unelected foreign interest representing infiltrator into our government. And now he is the advisor, meaning the person that the Liberal Party, our quote unquote hashtag governing party, is taking orders from a foreign unelected crime boss. Can I make it any more basic than that?
And let me start by saying it's an honor to accept this role as chair of this new task force on economic growth for the Prime Minister, for the leader. It comes at, in my view, a decisive time for our economy, for our country. The world is becoming a more dangerous and divided place, and at the same time, the global economy is being transformed. Every major economy is accelerating their energy transition, and being low carbon is becoming a key driver of competitiveness. We're just at the start of a revolution driven by AI in every sector, every economy, every company. We can no longer rely on the world's rules-based trading system. We have to become an essential trading partner. We can't win an industrial policy arms race. And in all of that environment, we have to grow, both in the short term and for the long term. We need real policies. We need solutions, not slogans. Action, not indifference. And I was very pleased by the discussion in the room, the ideas and the energy of the members, and look forward to working with them to develop the strategy.
Do you think when the Nazis rolled into Paris and claimed Paris, do you think the speech was any different? We are now the boss. This is what you will do. This is what you want. This is how you will make it work. The only thing missing is the Gestapo uniform. This guy is, at the behest of Herr Schwab, here to fix it, put it in line, get your vision straight. You're working for the Fatherland. It's disgusting to me that they've manipulated and captured our people to the point where we just accept this foreign implement being stuck in and being told that he is going to rule over us. Yeah, I think that kind of qualifies as a coup, don't you? I'd really like to know. And where is this all going?
I think there's a huge impetus.
Why is he here?
National digital infrastructure. Digitization in healthcare is, I think, one of the great game changers. We should be helping countries to develop a national digital infrastructure, which they will need with these new vaccines. I think there's a huge...
With these new vaccines, with the education system, with the healthcare system, with the commerce, your banking, your money, your finances, your groceries, you're buying, your shopping, bail reform, criminals, crooks, tracking, illegal immigration, migration. They're going to decide whether you're illegal or not. There's a huge impetus for national digital infrastructure, digitization in healthcare. One of the great game changers. We should be helping countries to develop a national digital infrastructure, which they will need to fill these vaccines. That's why he's here. That's exactly why he's here, right? What does that look like? Thanks to Ian. I think he's even actually in the chat here. Surprised, buddy. I'm using your little chart. This is what it looks like. I'll make sure that this is in a Substack for everybody tomorrow as well. Give Ian a follow. Sometimes some of the stuff he talks about might be a little bit over the edge, but he's definitely knows more than he's supposed to. But yeah, healthcare, financial services, food, sustainability, travel, mobility, travel and mobility, where you can and cannot go, how and how you can do it. Humanitarian response, everything will be at the click of a button. It's for your safety. We're protecting you. Some of the stuff we've been covering in this other fancy gobbledygook policy implementations that they are so critically dependent on implementing right now in the government, which is why, again, Mark Carnival Carney is here. Streamline e-government, efficiency, telecommunications, social platforms, e-commerce, telecommunications, all of it. That's what they're telling you about. That's the marching orders from Geneva, and that's why he's here, because we are becoming difficult, shall we say. I could not help but agree with this little graphic more. I think we need to turn this into bumper stickers or lapel pins, buttons, ball caps. I resist the new swastika. I think there's somebody needs to do a resist the new swastika t-shirt out there or something for sure. right? And meanwhile, yesterday we saw Melanie Jolie demonstrate one of the most arrogant, entitled dismissals of entitlement and false hierarchy and superiority that I've ever seen demonstrated. When you saw the clip yesterday, Jolie, telling the journalist, "No, I'm talking now, and I am telling you how you will feel and what Canadians want." While her husband is, proven to be complicit in another $45 million scandal. This is a great if it if anybody's looking for a job in the criminal sector, politics is the best paying one out there. And while they keep us running around like going, what the this is their response. I can no longer defend my government and think for a second that they oppose the Nazis. They don't. They love the Nazis. They support the Nazis. They fund the Nazis. And yes, they protect Nazis still and to this day, our government. So some of the individuals and organizations consulted argued against releasing any of the information, warning it would be embarrassing or leads to prosecutions of the alleged war criminals. What an odd thing to say about releasing the names of 900 alleged Nazi war criminals who fled to Canada because it would embarrass the people at the trough. And then we wonder how we get the descendants of Nazi meat muppets like the talking tater tot in positions of control. 900 of them were brought at least, and I'm not even going to dispute this number. I would allege that they missed a zero. Given my own personal research into this, they missed a zero. As of 1999, Poland was still paying out war pensions, soldier pensions to more than 9,000 Nazis in Canada. So there was 9,000 still serving ones collecting pensions in Canada, or at least on the books, whether these people still existed or not, or whether they were going to fund some of these other individuals that have now since, second and third generation come to find themselves in position of influence, power in Canada, controlling things. The Nazi regime, the WEF Fourth Reich, is alive and well and getting, stronger by the day in Canada, and it would embarrass the politicians if any of that truth were to come out. This is how pathetic Canadians have been treated. Used, abused, stolen, destroyed, murdered at the hands of the people at the trough. Absolute psychosis, right? Now, this post is kind of a long thread. I'm not going to get into it, but this is, kind of a little bit more of what we all knew. The UN wants more control over global affairs, and the Pact for the Future, which is scheduled to be adopted during the Summit of the Future that will be held on September 22nd and 23rd, will go a long way toward making it a reality. Hardly anyone is talking about the Summit of the Future, enormous decisions that could dramatically affect the future of everyone on the planet are about to be made. According to the official UN website, the idea for the Summit of the Future was conceived at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is the booster party, the support party, the make sure it happens in your country party, the ones that the party that the Canadian representative will be there cheering on. Yes, Bill C-293 is in the Senate. We're pushing it through as fast as we can. We even brought Mark Carney in to help make this happen faster. This is what this Summit of the Future is about. One of the cornerstone pillars of the world domination and control, and the treason again, this treason of these people perpetrating this coup against Canada. So highly recommend people know their enemy and know what's coming. This is right on the horizon. And we're going to be talking, a lot of people are talking about Bill C-293. I don't, we have to talk about that. We have to talk about what's the solutions are to some of this. What's the process of dissolving the Senate? What is the process of capturing any of these things? These quote unquote leaders in politics, and it doesn't matter which one you talk to, don't seem to have a coherent answer or response to any of it except, oh, vote for me. Thank you for your donation. Right? But meanwhile, this all of these policies, uh, particularly this C-293 and Bill C-63, the way they are being pushed through the Senate at this point, I can't trust anybody to get in the way of this, because they all, everybody that has a voice, including, the pretend opposition, the pretendians, uh, they signed it before it could get to the Senate. So now it's up to the Senate, and we've announced a new Senate member who's going to be there to plug it along even quicker. So this is all part of the treason continues. The treason continues, and it's all at the behest of these unelected foreign infiltrators that control the elected or the supposedly elected infiltrators, and it's a real deep mess. But get informed of what they got on deck for us, guys. That again will be in the Substack tomorrow morning. The link is down below. You can also find it once again on the whatsupcanada.website. Bill Gates, Killer Bill, says humanity has two choices: World War III or another pandemic. Is that not the greatest threat issued by one of the most diabolical and evil, self-entitled, genocidal psychopaths and maniacs to ever walk on 2 feet on this planet? Why? Because his money is making us decide which do we want. And at the end of the day, we don't get a decision. We're going to get both, because that is their plan. They have to destroy us so they can rebuild on the conquered land. So this psychopathic eugenist has issued his warning that we're going to face either of these two things. And short of arresting this entire syndicate and everybody that's connected to it, nothing would save more lives on this planet faster than doing something about these elite or self-anointed elite. They're parasites. They're worse than cancer. They kill more people than cancer. But until we find the appropriate socially accepted cure, it's just another experiment, right? So this is a kind of a really disturbing story. Came to me first by Kevin McKiernan. Jessica nails it. They have no problem with overdosing kids with undiluted mixed up vials for the entire pandemic. Lots of these cases in VAERS. Now they are suddenly worried about mixing up strain A versus strain B. Bullshit. They want evidence destroyed. What are they referring to? The Public Health Agency of Canada says it asked provinces to get rid of existing C-19 jabs to avoid confusion with new formulations that will have the same DIN, drug identification number. I too call bullpucky. You're doing it to destroy evidence of process-related impurities and crimes. Crimes against humanity, crimes against children, murder, genocide, ethnocide, whatever you want to call it. They have done it all to extremes of magnitude. right? So why on Mother Earth would you use the same DIN number anyways? That's the point of having different DIN numbers, so that kind of thing didn't have to occur, right? DINs can be reused if the product remains chemically and biologically equivalent. New XBB virus-specific strain inversion implies biological non-sequence or non-equivalence, doesn't it? Could it be because they'd have to submit an application for regulatory approval and undergo the appropriate testing and evaluation process before obtaining a new DIN? This would be unacceptable. We are in a COVID emergency. After all, it kind of wastes time to. And meanwhile, the perpetrators are still walking free using deception, deceit, allegation, victimhood, all of the things that they are doing to keep us distracted and focusing on the real perpetrators, real criminals, right? So that's kind of in essence what our government is trying to do is, again, not just eliminate the victims, the evidence, but yeah, cleaning up the evidence too, getting rid of it, making sure that they can't be held accountable. And funny that next post, right? Accountability in Canadian politics, don't hold your breath. The system is not designed to criminally prosecute politicians. They made sure of that, but it is designed to immunize them even when they perjure themselves publicly, and CSIS can prove it. And 100%, we talk about a Little Child case, 1992, where they said elected officials cannot be held accountable for anything that they do in office. Our only recourse is to vote someone else in next time. And since that day, Canada has been a free-for-all for every psychopath and criminal and terrorist in the world that wants to come and get free, easy money and free, easy marks that are ultra compliant and, won't defend themselves even when staring at death and medical experimentation in the camp. I mean, the only thing missing from the Canadian branding is the colors and logo patterns at this point.
Information from any of our security agencies or police officers or intelligence officials or public servants on any information on anyone receiving as a federal candidate receiving money from China, as the allegations highlighted.
Well, to be very clear, we can prove that every federal government from Mr. Mulroney to Mr. Trudeau have been compromised by agents of the Communist China.
I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies.
We can prove that every federal government from Mr. Mulroney to Mr. Trudeau have been compromised by agents of the Communist China.
I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies.
Every government were informed at one point or another. Every government choose to ignore CSIS warning either by negligence, self-interest, or partnership.
I have never gotten any information from any of our security agencies.
Every government were infiltrated by agents of influence acting on behalf of the Chinese government, and we knew who they were.
Every single one of them. So this, again, comes back to my pet peeve that I've been railing on about is everybody's fixated with the 11 compromised. No, it is every single one of them. And by keeping their mouths shut and playing party to the cover up, if we were covering up our neighbor's crime, wouldn't we go to jail as well? Right? I mean, this is, the insanity of what, they expect us to endure. And I thought I'd just throw this one in for everybody for a feel good and reminder, although this is an awful lot of swimming through the stanky swamp again, we are not alone in resisting, right? And there's more of us than there is of them. All right. I want people to know that you're not alone in objecting to all of this. So every day I come to you guys with the truth, and unfortunately, most of that is really dark, dank, nasty, bad news. But at the end of the day, we can't fix anything we don't know about it. I firmly believe that. Only the truth will set us free. I firmly believe that. Only until we start to realize and come together with the ability and understanding that it doesn't have to be revolution, because this is what they're going to try and get us to do. But at the end of the day, a country is decided by the will of the court of public opinion. And Canadians are going to have to make a choice soon. And they're going to be able to decide for a little while yet to do this peacefully by assembling and doing the right things, or wait until we get cornered. And at that point, we become incredibly vulnerable. And remembering who we are, where we come from, what we stand for, and why we're doing this is critically important, because there is an awful lot of parasites out there, an awful lot of wild west out there, and an awful lot of people that are going to start getting a real rude awakening real soon. Now, I did see a comment back up here. Somebody's, I think it was probably Paul, saying that constitutional conventions are starting to happen in Alberta. And I can confirm, I know that is happening. And why is that happening? It's not because people want and dream. It is because people are realizing they have to choose something different, or all they're going to be left with is their fists to fight with. And they're going to be hungry doing it. And when I started talking about this a while ago, it became important to me after hearing what the Separatist Party was talking about. And this recent Act 40,352 of the NDP Trudeau charade with their so-called divorce, and opening up the door for the Bloc Québécois. We talked about this just a couple of months ago, what was going to happen in Quebec. And people got really upset. And it's not that I want to divide Canada. I'm trying to get people educated to understand why and how they're going to be divided, whether they like it or not, and the choices and the things that is going to matter to them. And that is what the I can't remember say the guy's name, the Quebec separatist leader, Brasseau. He understands, and the people in Quebec do, and that is the extortion. That is what he is basically telling us. That he was asked today, how does it feel to have all this extra power? And he looks a journalist straight in the face and says, good, and turns around and walks away. So it's all about getting more for Quebec. Yeah, one word, good. And that's not just, I don't want to divide the Quebec people. They're, to an extent, the beneficiaries of it, but it's not their will and their intent. But they understand how to profit from the de facto. Now, here's Danielle Smith is getting a rude awakening in this, whether she likes it or not, because she realizes now she's in the crosshairs. And I think now she is starting to understand what is coming at her. And it's not Trudeau that's coming after her. It's not, Green Jesus, Stéphane Gilbeault that's coming after her. Those guys are child's play for what's coming after her. What is coming after her with this Bloc Québécois power is a threat, an extortion. If Trudeau does not give to the Bloc Québécois what they want, they are extorting the separation movement. But this is the part of the deception. It's not a separation movement. They've had the rights to decide their own country since 1931. But because blackmail and bribing the de facto has been profitable for everybody, and everybody at the trough has, guzzling the extortion juice, aka tax dollars, they've extorted Ottawa to get what they want every step of the way, since it was realized and they couldn't be held accountable in 92. That was where the major crime spree took over. And this is why none of the perceived documents of protection for we the people seem to have any bearing, any weight, any merit. This is what they're showing us every day in the courts, and this is why it's not working. And Quebec knows how to extort the mafia better than the rest of Canada. And this is where Daniel Smith is now going, oh, wait, what? Wait a minute. Now I got to fight Ottawa, the communists, and Quebec. We're not equipped to negotiate or their whims. Well, it's not the way it's going to work, Danielle. Trudeau's going to say, this is how Alberta's going to do it, because this is what the guy with his hand up my backside is telling me he has to do for me to stay in power. So there we come back to the original beginning of this, where how do people come to power? Through legal means. Try to stay in power through illegal means. That's kind of where we are, folks. And Daniel Smith is getting a rude awakening on that. And the rest of Canadians are going to get a ruder awakening on that. And so, you know, I'm not trying, I'm trying to save Canada and get us all on the right, equal path and page and understanding, but we're all operating from completely different chapters of the story and understanding. And meanwhile, the gates are still wide open. Canada's at 42 million people in a couple of weeks. And this is the ones that they know of. Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good stuff. But on an interesting side note, and this is a beacon of warning for our friends south of the 49 in the mighty US of A. Sorry, guys. But I've been trying to tell you guys this for the longest time too. Well, everybody down there has been looking at the southern border, talking about Kamala's great job down there as the borders are. Meanwhile, Canada is letting them walk across here and pick up cabs in greater New York. And this is just one article, but it can't seem to get anybody's attention down there to, say, hey, kind of look at what might be going on up here, because 20,000 of them so far that they know of in this article have kind of crossed the border there, invading into the United States. So I think your guys's political and news and information system might be a little bit low in their estimations of how many people are invading the United States and from where, and what their security statuses might be, what these people are coming from. This particular article is talking about people from India. This was a story that I wanted to bring up again a couple of weeks ago. It was a completely different article, but it was 15,000 people in 2 weeks had crossed into the United States, and they weren't from India. I'll tell you that. They were from places far more concerning. Mevo, I disagree. You don't know how much research I've done, and I hope she does know exactly what's going on. She's made some statements that I can halfways agree with, but she's still got a significant amount of information to absorb and learn when it comes to all of that. And there's others in this is not a new conversation. But I'm glad that people are having the conversation. That's the most important part. And I ask people, because it's a legitimate question, how much suffering is enough? Maybe we're looking at it differently. If this is perhaps a result of the system being antiquated and corrupt, perhaps it's time to start with looking at what does it take to remove the monarchy and seat a law-based society, not a monarchy, and seat a constitutional republic, a de jure Canada. So let's start with that. And if Barbados can do it, if Iceland can do it, other nations can do it, America did it, we can do it too. And America did it based on what? A 3% T tax got them motivated, and a civil war. I hope we could skip the civil war, go straight to the Renaissance, and realize the pain and suffering all stems from this corruption, and we can end it by the will of the people. I've got a little bit of extra time here. I'm going to play. No, I'm going to let this one go. We'll keep this one for another night. Call that a night, because that's going to go a little bit longer than I wanted to. But yeah. I have a couple of other clips, so we'll probably do a couple of watch parties tomorrow. One of them is the extortion list, the list of demands from the Bloc Québécois is interesting, but that's a tough listen. But it was, when I was listening to it, I didn't get all the way through it earlier, but I was listening to it, and even they mention leveraging the de facto governance of Canada. And it just keeps driving my point home on this. And this is, the baseline question: are people in representatives willing to support creating a de jure Canada? People where Canada controls and rules the country with a form of government that we choose, that we decide, not that is inherited as a damaged, corrupt, institutions that have, made it acceptable for capture and crime to be the order of the day, and normalizing all of it. And there's a lot of different fights on the table, a lot of them. Some, we cannot, we can't look at just one of the fights and focus on all of that. We need to come together as organized groups against a bunch of them, because some of them are triage that we have to look at immediately right now. Like, what do we do about the Senate and these bills that are in the Senate? Because if we don't stop that process, put a big stick in the front wheel of that, then we don't get to any of the other discussions, right? But if a country like Barbados can do it, why the hell can't we? Right? Yeah, that's my question. But at the end of the day, it's got to be the will of the people, and understanding that rules and laws are crafted, words put together, agreed upon by a small number of people, and then enforced upon the masses. That's what rules and laws are. And at any point in time, should the court of public opinion decide to convene and appropriately go through the process of negotiation and decide, no, we want something different, they win. That is the nature of history. Whether it gets to a point where people become frustrated enough to engage in violence or not is basically the question. And it's the violence that they want us to have, so they can continue to create division and ways to keep us fighting and squabbling about all of those things that keep us from being able to come together on a few things. And these meat muppets in political circles pretending they're going to change anything can't change anything, no matter what they say, because the system is broken. The system only goes one way, a self-eating circle to the left. There is no straight course or trajectory, and all of the institutions that used to keep it in line, at least to a deceived degree, have been broken, captured, and pillaged. So it is literally, the pirates are raiding the ship, they're raiding the Titanic, robbing all of the passenger compartments, while the ship is sinking, and they're fighting over who gets to turn it to drive it when it turns into a submarine. So that's in essence where we're at. It's my personal opinion that Canada needs something similar to what America had or has. There's improvements that can be made on that in 300 years, but I think we need to evolve and decide for ourselves and give attention where it's due. Stop some of the assaults, the battery at the hands of our government institutions, and get some things to agree on and work towards. And I think we've got this if we want it bad enough. But people don't learn the lesson until the price they pay is high enough. That is human nature. And until we snap a little bit more of the satanic lullaby, we've still got a lot of work to do. But it's a good sign, as dark and diabolical as it might seem, that they are, in these desperate measures where they are sending out the fixers to all of these countries to try to keep the kids from destroying their toys, aka our post nation state that we're going to turn back into Canada. So they're sending out the big guns, and they're running out of big guns, and they're running out of weasels to put in place for all of this. So that's been another merry wander through the swamp called Canada, and I think we've talked about some things that are legitimate conversations. It's not conspiracy theory, and when you look at things through the eyes of reality, and not through the eyes of what we're told to, things we're told to see. This whole "don't believe your lying eyes" from Orwell. That's the party line. That's what we covered, all of that last night. Gaslighting. How many different politicians did we have on the show last night telling you, oh, nothing to see here in Canada, everything's wonderful, you Canadians just want to be governed, they love this shit, govern me harder, daddy. That's what every liberal sycophant is out there saying. Oh, they don't worry about the pools, they don't pay attention to that. Why? They don't have to. Because that is how the syndicate rolls. These are made protected people, and so long as they keep delivering their profits 10% up the chain to the big guys, they continue to function. So we've still got plenty of work to do, but I think we're a lot farther ahead now than we were a year ago, or where we were 2 or 3 years ago. But we have to continue to be like a dog with a bone. No amnesty, never again is now, and don't accept, being silenced. We talk about different statements and phrases that might be triggering to lefties, but hey, maybe you can make maybe we can make a game out of melting snowflakes. How many snowflakes did you melt today? Well, I got 3 on Twitter at least, right? So, that's the state of Banana Canada, the shit show Inc. called the Government of Canada, the rising syndicate stars of the hashtag WEF Fourth Reich. And that's it. Yeah. The last thing that we do is every week we talk, and we have a community that takes money away from said sycophants and global psychopaths, the BlackRocks, Vanguards, and State Streets. I love these guys because not only is everything better than I can ever get anywhere else, but I know that the Obamites and the globalists absolutely despise this company. This is one of the companies the global elites hate more than any other, and that's the biggest reason why they're my partner. Besides, I love all of the stuff that I get from there. So if you want to learn more about how to take your money away from the global cabal in a direct from manufacturer to consumer process, connect with these guys. You find them under the Set Me Free button on my website. So I love you all. Stay tuned. I talked to David Creighton today. We're going to have him on the show real soon, and some other updates coming. I'm waiting for the permission to make some announcements to you guys, but some fun, some interesting stuff. These are interesting times. We're in indeed the most interesting time. So I love you guys all, and we'll see you same time, same place tomorrow, like we do every Monday to Friday. All right. And so I almost forgot, Support your favorite journalists, the ones that you trust, the ones that are out there taking the licks, taking the kicks, whoever that might be. If this is the platform that you trust the most and you want to help keep us free for everybody else out there, like I said earlier, nothing ever goes behind a paywall. This only lives by viewer support, community support. We don't get government support. We don't get Russian support. We don't get corporate support. This is a community. We do this together. We are in this together, win, lose, or draw. We either end up free together or we end up in the gulag together. So that's the best way to help me do what I do. And if you have a story or a special interest or anything else, contact at whatsupcanada.org. All right, guys, I love you again, and stay mighty, my fellow friends, patriots, prisoners, and hostages. We'll see you tomorrow.